What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Fear the Walking Dead, Season 3, Episode 13. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. Never understood that one. Anyways, no, but I'm going to be doing 2 episodes at a time because, just to make it even, I don't want to go 3 and then 1. So I'm going to go 2 and 2. But yeah, it's no coincidence that the best episode this season is the first episode in like 2 seasons where we have people being good people. And that's the thing. That's the main thing about it. I enjoyed so much more of this episode because you've got people being good people. And that's the problem with the show, is that it's like they wanted to show the apocalypse from a different point of view. And so what they did is they showed everybody going crazy right away. Everybody's killing each other. There are dictators rising up. People controlling water supply. People controlling this. People controlling that. All of this happening within a few months. Which leaves no room for human characters. You've got a bunch of super crazy characters that sure fits well in most TV shows, but when you've already got a show like The Walking Dead that has characters far better than anything in this one, and it makes sense because it's been several years, you come over to this show, everybody's going crazy just like that doesn't make sense. It's not realistic, and that's one of the charms about The Walking Dead universe in general, is that they try to keep things somewhat realistic. And that's obviously trying to be realistic in a zombie apocalypse. Okay, yeah, sometimes you can't be realistic. But here's the thing. The human characters have always felt realistic on The Walking Dead. Especially in the first couple seasons, you could really relate. You could really relate to them trying to survive. Some of them acted like idiots, but that's to be expected because there are going to be a couple idiots. On this show, everybody seems to just be an idiot. It's all about me surviving. I want you to sacrifice yourself because I want to survive. I want you to sacrifice your rations because I want to control them. I'll give you what you need. That's I'm sorry, that's not realistic. You would not have all these self-appointed leaders coming out of the woodworks and saying, "Hey, I've got control over all of this, and yeah, so you guys stay down there. I'm gonna rule on high. I am your leader now." And everybody's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll follow you, sir. Wherever you want to go, let's go." Like, that's not realistic. Actually, it might be, but it's not enjoyable to watch. It's just watching a bunch of terrible people be terrible people, and that's not fun for me to watch. So, we have this episode. Everybody's trapped in the pantry, and they realize that they're short on oxygen. So, what's the best thing to do? Well, we need some people to sacrifice themselves. And Alicia saw that one guy got bit, and so that's kind of where she came up with the idea. It's like if anybody got bit, they would need, if they could sacrifice themselves, it would give everybody else some more time. So ultimately, this one guy that she saw, he steps up first, and that gets everybody else that got bit, the courage to say, "You know what, this isn't about me. This isn't about, I'm already dead. I know this. I got bit. That's what happens. This is about helping the people I love survive." Because most of them have had loved ones, and they would rather see them survive than, they die and they die too. So it was a really nice moment to see all these people stepping up, even if their families said, no, we don't know for sure. And there was even that one moment where they started questioning, which is realistic to me, like, it's not easy to just be like, "Yeah, okay, kill me." So the fact that they did have that one moment where they questioned it, and they're like, "Actually, I don't know." And then Christine, who honestly I thought she was among those that got bit because she was over there, but she did kind of say, "Look, it's morphine. It'll feel great. It's going to be the most painless experience ever." And so that kind of calmed them down, because I think when they heard that they were going to get stabbed, not shot, they're like, "Oh, this is going to hurt real bad." And so she was just like, "Nah, it's going to feel like heaven before you reach heaven." So, it was just a really nice scene. And there was a lot of character development here, too. Like, they actually fleshed out some of these characters. You had the whole conversation between Christine and Alicia. Now, there's kind of a dichotomy here where, on the one hand, they haven't really had a chance to sort of settle down and talk since this all started. which, kind of makes sense because they've been on the run. But at the same time, because you're telling a TV show, or, well, telling a TV show, you're telling a story through a TV show, if we don't get more moments like this, it's hard for us to grasp onto characters. That's why that scene felt like such a breath of fresh air for me. Because I'm like, okay, yeah, they haven't had a whole lot of time, but if they had done a couple more scenes, at least just like, I don't know, giving us a few stories, or honestly, just giving us a few more characters like Christine on the show, this show would be so much better. But there's been one Christine, maybe two, throughout the 3 seasons. The rest of the people have been all people like Jeremiah and like Walker and like Troy and like Strand and like, Daniel. Even the better characters, they're still assholes. There's hardly even Lola and Ephraim. They started out seeming like, okay, maybe these are just good people trying to help, but now they're kind of like, Lola is trying to divvy out the water, and Ephraim is going a little too far into the crazy, I want to help everyone. It's like there's no middle ground. There's no normal people on the show. They're either, most of the people are extreme assholes, and then there are a few extremely too nice people that are probably not going to survive very long. So we haven't had a lot of Christine characters where they're just normal. They're just a normal person. When she's talking about losing her husband during 9/11, like all of that stuff, it just felt so real. It felt like I was seeing a real person on the show. And I've not felt that since the beginning, I don't think. I can't remember the first season very well, but definitely through season 2 and so far through this season, I can't think of any characters where I'm like, yeah, she just seems like a normal person. Everybody's like crazy now. Even the more like I said, the more interesting characters like Daniel, like Ophelia, like those punk kids from last season, like even characters like that, they didn't seem normal, but they had something about them that got my interest. With Daniel, it's that the killer inside that he's trying to suppress while also trying to survive in this climate. And Ophelia, what this means to her now that she's going through, she's had to kill people to survive. Even if I don't like all of the stuff that happened with the ranch, what she had to go through is what her father was trying to keep her away from. And then the kids last season, I just liked their story because they just were punk kids, and we've not seen that in Apocalypse before. Like, what would happen if these punk kids who just want to loot and riot and have fun, what would happen to them in an apocalypse? That was an interesting story. But like I said, Christine is the only one that I've seen that's just, she's a normal person. She's a normal person that got caught up in all of this, and it was so good. It was such a good scene. Even Ophelia and Mad Dog? Is that his code name? I think his real name is Lee. I'm pretty sure she called him. But yeah, the guy that she went into the vent with to get the air going again. There's even that moment, and I will say, I was kind of like, yeah, you don't really have time to talk about this because you're kind of on a ticking clock. But at the same time, I still enjoyed the fact that we did find out more about him. We found out that he was in the Iraq War and he had a kid that he lost at the beginning of all of this because, he lost it a couple times. And we saw him losing it because he couldn't get himself turned around in the vent. And so we got that little story. And like I said, probably not the time to talk about it. And I'll get to what happened later later on. But, it was a good moment because it gave him more of a character. We've just seen him as this asshole who wants to, all of these white people came onto our land and they took our land and now we're taking it back and you guys are worse than us and we're taking back over. We're letting you stay here. You're welcome. He just became kind of a dick once they took over. Now he actually has more of a character. He's not just a one-dimensional douchebag like Walker is, So yeah, I really liked a lot of those scenes. Troy and Nick's stuff, kind of up in the air about, it's nice to see them doing something good for once, but Troy is still kind of, he's there, and I'm just kind of like, why is he there? And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Troy, honestly. I haven't been since we first met him, and I don't know. I didn't think they were just going to get rid of him, but also the fact that he's still part of the main cast, I'm just kind of like, not a big fan of this. I prefer to see less of him, not more, because he was gone for a couple episodes. So yeah, it's nice to see him finally trying to help, instead of just being the douchebag that he is, the psychopath douchebag that he is. But I'm still just not a big fan of him, him laughing while he's running through all of the walkers and stuff. And then, crashing and then getting the helicopter and he's like laughing and he hands Nick the gun. He's like, all right, which one of it's gonna be? And he's all like excited to die. I'm just like, this isn't an interesting character. He's just a psychopath, and he's not even a well written psychopath because, again, like I've talked about before, most of the characters don't know how to interact with him. One writer will come in and have him act one way towards him, and then another writer will come in the next episode and the character relationships have completely flipped. So, yeah, that whole story was just kind of there for me, especially when you compare it to the other stuff. But then we got to the part of the episode that kind of made it take a downturn. Because I was wondering, I'm like, okay, so this episode has been really good. What's going to ruin it? Honestly, I thought it was going to be some douchebag who got bit and then didn't want to stand up and say anything, and then they were going to die, and then they were going to turn and start biting people. But instead, the writers decide to make it where they don't get to the air in time. Everybody passes out from lack of air, and then Alicia is the only one that survives. That's a problem. You did so well with this concept, but here's the few problems. One, why is Alicia the only one that didn't die from lack of oxygen? Well, and I guess you could say Ophelia and Lee also didn't. So, but why is she the only one in that room that didn't run out of oxygen? Two, now all of the sacrifice that happened earlier this episode, all of that emotional drama that we went through, all of these people standing up and saying, you know what, we've been fighting for so long, we don't care anymore. We don't care who's who. We don't care if you look different than us. We don't care if you're on our land. None of that matters anymore. We got bit. We're going to sacrifice ourselves to save everybody else. All that sacrifice doesn't mean anything anymore. You ripped out any sort of meaning for that. And yeah, you could say, well, sometimes that's just how it happens. Sometimes you do one thing and you think it's going to go one way, but then it doesn't. Well, yeah, but go to The Last Jedi, Star Wars The Last Jedi. That was one of the things people talked about, is that little side mission that Finn and Rose went on to help the Resistance. Didn't do anything. It actually made things worse. And people were just like, well, what was the point of that? And some people who defend it is like, well, yeah, but that's just how life is. Sometimes you make a plan and it doesn't work. So it's more realistic. Okay, yeah, but that's not how storytelling works. When you're telling a story, it's kind of like how I felt about Carl's death in The Walking Dead. I should probably say spoilers, but let's be honest. I mean, if you didn't know Carl was dead at this point, that was like 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago. I know I'm a few seasons behind. But like Carl's death for me was kind of a mixed bag because I knew it was more about the actor having to leave the show. And it felt like his story was not necessarily done yet. Thankfully, they did kind of reconcile a little bit at the end where Rick didn't kill Negan because of Carl's wish. But I still felt like they sort of cut Carl's story short. And there have been a few characters throughout all the TV show history that they've built up the story and then kind of had to cut it off for different reasons. This is something where you were telling a story, you built up this whole idea of sacrificing these people to save others. Not only that, Maddie and Strand, this was the third point, Maddie and Strand, their whole story now is completely pointless. Because they went to go get water to help everybody survive. They managed to make a deal with this woman at the dam. They did all of this. We spent a few episodes on that. Now all the people are dead, so there's no point to go get the water. So all of that, most of this season, is now pointless. Because this whole idea of trying to live together, trying to bond together, even though maybe we don't like each other, but you know what? We need to work together to survive. That was kind of the idea building up the second half of the season. And you had a few people trying to disrupt it, but that was the idea that was building up. Was, hey, we all got to work together to survive. They're finally working together, and then they all die anyway. It's like, well, then what's the moral? What is the moral then? So again, that's a problem. You finally had a good episode going. You had good moment. You had good characters happening. You had all of this good stuff building up. And then you slice it at the core and say, nah, none of that means anything. And tree falls down and now you're back to a stump again of a show. And that's a problem because as I'm watching, I'm just thinking, all right, so this is all pretty good. Are they going to ruin it somehow? Is this going to stay good? Are we going to maybe have something shocking where we find out, I don't know, something about Christine, or maybe like they're about to get out and then Christine, maybe they don't see a walker coming and she gets bit, something like that to maybe make this whole thing sad. No, they just kill everybody. I'm just, I can't even comprehend it. I can't comprehend what went through the writers' minds. Like, did they just bring in a new set of writers halfway through this episode? I know I keep making that joke, but honestly, that's what it feels like. When you have so much of this stuff that seems to be written out and it's like, oh yes, this is all building up to something, and then it just leads to nothing and everybody dies. What was the point? I prepared myself for something stupid like this, but I didn't imagine they would go this far with the stupidity. This killing everybody off for me was just kind of like, oh, so you don't care. You don't care about any story you're writing. And honestly, the only good thing that happened at the end of this episode was Alicia telling her mom off as like, look, your way doesn't work. And I'm like, thank you. Somebody's telling Maddie off, and she did tell Maddie off a little bit earlier this season. Although I will say another stupid thing. Nick lies to Alicia about Troy and what Troy did. I'm just like, yeah. Tell you what, lies have gotten you guys so far, so just keep lying. Go ahead, keep lying. Look at all the lies have gotten you guys. Ranch full of dead people. All from lies. Congratulations. Keep lying to her. Go ahead. Just because you want to feel like, oh, well, I gotta keep Troy alive, and if I tell Alicia that Troy's the reason Jake died and Troy's the reason all these people died, she's probably gonna kill him, so I'm gonna protect Troy. Yeah, Jake, he just got bit. Troy had to put him down, and Troy was trying to warn us, because that's something Troy would do. I think I'm more frustrated because it was so good, and now it's just back to shit. So, anyways, on to the next episode. See you there. And now, episode 14, El Matadero. Matadero. That was right. So, yeah. Let me tell you. This show is a masterclass of how to take good storylines and ruin them. So, everything I was talking about, with the whole thing building up where Daniel realizes Ophelia's still alive, Ophelia realizes her father is still alive, and this idea of like, holy crap, how's he going to react now that she's become a killer? The one thing he was trying to get her to not be is a killer. All of that storyline build up. I tell you what, it's like the plant seeds, watch it grow, and then done. Like that. I mean, ridiculous. Oh, she got bit. Okay, well, now we know where it's going to go. Like, honestly, I knew where it was going to go. From the moment she got bit, I knew where it was going to go. I'm like, let me guess. They're going to try to keep her alive until Daniel can see her so he can get one final goodbye, but she's going to die right before he sees her, right? And then he's going to get all pissed off about that, right? You can't get any more predictable than that. Now, granted, I didn't think he was going to be okay with Madison after that. I thought whenever he was like, stay away from us, I honestly thought he meant that. But then, of course, next scene, he's like going in to be with her. I will say, like, he's like, what did she say to you? You were with her right before she died. What did she say? And Madison was like, she said that she loves you. And he gave her a look. I'm just like, what are you doing? You really think you can lie to Daniel? You really think you can get away with that? And honestly, after I thought that, my next thought was, well, she told me not to let you see her in that state, not to let you kill her, but I decided not to listen to that request. The only request I wanted to listen to was the one where, we get her to see you. But then whenever she made that request, I didn't really feel like doing that. So, oh well. Um, but yeah, so essentially she told him, like she said she was wanting to meet you, or she was excited to or she was looking forward to get to know you, or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't care about this anymore. I am curious to see what it's going to do to Daniel, because, I mean, he, all of this emotion he's gone through, like now this is even worse, but I still feel like that was a missed opportunity. Like they didn't know what to do with building this relationship between Daniel and Ophelia, and like this new relationship that they're going to have to work through, where now she's a killer. She's willing to kill, she's done it for people, and the consequences he has to deal with for that, and how he's trying to like maybe bring her back from that. And she's just, look, i'm not I'm not a crazy person. I'm not just going to kill, but I'm willing to do what it takes to survive. And so it's like trying to wrestle with that, trying to wrestle with that idea of he's trying to get to where she is, where he can kill to survive, but he doesn't release the killer inside. And maybe she's trying to help him get to where she is. So that for me would be an interesting story. That's a great build up for that type of story. But that takes a lot of work, and the writers are like, we don't want to do all that. Just kill her off, and then we'll make him deal with the heartbreak of losing her. Like pretty much everybody else has. So that was all dumb. The stuff with Alicia could be interesting. I will say I'm sick of watching these people who claim to be experts on surviving in the apocalypse continue to do such stupid stuff, because I talked about this last season. When I was watching my reviews, I remember this one episode where Travis and Chris were out and about, and Chris is like, Dad, I'm good at this. I'm good at this. And then he walks right into a gas station, doesn't do any sort of checking, and they nearly get ambushed by walkers because he just walks in with no regard. I'm like, wait. You said you were good at this. People who are good at this know when you walk into a place, what do? You bang on something. You draw all the walkers that are in there out. So that way all right, is this a place I can search through, or is this a place that I can't really deal with because there's too many to deal with? That's what you do. But nobody does that in the show. They all just walk into places and they're just like, all right, well, I'm just going to sneak through. And then, oh crap, there's one on me. Oh no. Because they're all idiots. I will say the fact that there was one hiding in the ball pit, it's kind of stupid. And this is something that I've seen. I've had a couple issues in The Walking Dead before. The one that really springs to mind is a case where they were in the prison, and I just remember this is when Herschel lost his leg, because there was a walker who was like playing dead. It was like sitting there, and then all of a sudden like they walk past, and they walk past again, and the second time, as soon as Herschel steps right here, it's I'm just like, okay, can they play dead? And I actually remember I was talking to a friend about it, and apparently they were building up this idea of, ooh, what if they're not brain dead? What if they do have higher thought power? What if this infection gives them, they can still think, they can still act? But the problem is we've not seen any other instances of that. So it seems more just like poor writing and poor editing choices rather than an actual concept of what if. And this is another scenario where there's no reason. It's not like these things are stalkers, like if you played The Last of Us, the ones that are like super sneaky and super quiet, and they actually wait for you to turn your back before they attack you. That's not the walkers in The Walking Dead. The walkers in The Walking Dead, they're bloodthirsty. They just want food. That's the only thing that drives them. And I'll get to the Nick and Troy stuff later because, oh my God. But that's the thing, is that she goes in there, she rings the doorbell. As she walks in, none of them come out. So then there's one that walks past after she goes into the kitchen, kills that one, but then she sees more coming. And then she climbs in the ball pit so she can take him out. And then all of a sudden you see the balls rustling behind her. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's really one that's just hiding in there. And it's just hiding and slurking. And and it grabs her and pulls her under. I'm like, come on. That's not how that works. That's not what they do. There wouldn't just be one just hiding in there like, oh, I'm just going to wait for somebody to crawl into this ball pit. So that was dumb. And then she meets the girl. This is where it could get interesting because, Alicia, she is just trying to kind of be away from everything. She doesn't want to get caught up in this whole thing of like, struggling to survive and fighting against other people for resources like most of this show has been. So it is kind of funny that she meets somebody that takes her stuff and then she's just like, this is mine. And she's like, well, no, it's in my car, so it's mine. And so, I don't know. I'm curious to see like what's going to happen there. Is she going to form like a friendship with this girl? Like I don't know. I'll be curious to see kind of how that goes and what storylines they could explore there. It could be interesting, it could not be. So I'm just kind of like maybe it'll be good. Cuz honestly, I will say Alicia right now she's become a better character, especially over the last couple episodes. She's become a better character. So I am curious to see where her story goes. And that's the only reason why I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen there. But let's get to the worst part of the episode. It is 11:42, so I'm tired, and I had to deal with this BS. Nick and Troy. So Nick walks into the room, sees some pills. It's like, you know what? Nothing really sparking this. I know we just lost a lot of people, and now we've kind of been uprooted, which means life is gonna get rougher. Let's make it even rougher I'm gonna relapse now. Come on, Troy. You come with me, take some drugs. Come on, let's take some adrenaline. Yeah, let's go party, buddy. Yeah, I'm relapsing because that's what my character seems to want to do. Because I thought we were past the whole drug thing, but I guess not. I don't know. I guess they were like, what else can we have Nick do? I know, let's just have him relapse. We already took away his girlfriend. She decided to leave the group for some reason. Let's just have him relapse, Why not? So that's what he does. He relapses. And leads to the dumbest scene, at least in the past few episodes. I mean, probably not the dumbest scene this season, because there have been a lot of dumb scenes. But yeah, the lightning was the dumbest scene this season. I don't think it's going to get dumber than the lightning striking the walker. But yeah, let's talk about this scene, because he and Troy hop the fence. They go out, and you see Nick, he's just all happy. He's like, yeah, man, we just got to live life. This is the best part. Yeah, we're all awesome. Woo, we're all cool. There's a walker hanging out of a truck, so he goes up, smashes the walker head in a little bit, grabs some of the blood, wipes his face and covers himself, and then covers Troy in it. And I'm just like, oh, so we're going back to this then. Cool. And then he's just like, yeah, you gotta, I forget what he said now, so I'm tired. But essentially said something along the lines of, you just gotta walk quietly and look at the space between atoms. I'm just like, so what? This is your high? After you've already gotten drug high, now you're getting even more high by surviving in a crowd of walkers, which first of all, sprints up, which, again, the walkers, driven by bloodthirst, driven by hunger, driven by the desire to kill and eat, sees something running up to them, no reaction. And then he starts walking too like that, and then Troy is walking like that too, and then Troy catches up to him, and he's like, hey man, come here, and grabs him and starts hugging him, and he's just like, I don't want to go back to her. And all the walkers are just like, and just keep walking. Why? Why? Take a trip with me, will you? Back to, I'm not even going to look it up, I'm too tired. Back to, I believe it was season 6 of The Walking Dead. Alexandria, right? There was a moment where a ton of walkers got in. There were a ton of them. And we see Rick, and he's out there, and he's with this little family where I think he was responsible for the dad's death. And so there was this mom that she She was kind of into Rick a little bit, because he saved her from an abusive husband. But the two sons were kind of a little crazy. The little one, he was just trying to, he's all innocent and stuff, and he was trying to stay innocent, and Carol was scaring the crap out of him with her talk of, feeding him to the walkers while making cookies, and that was a huge joke for a while because, Carol's a badass. And then the older son was, like, pissed at Rick and wanted to kill him. That was the whole story there, right? So they're out walking amongst the walkers, right? They have to walk slow. They have to just keep everything calm. They're coated in the blood. They're wearing that, but they have to stay focused. Well, then the son starts to lose it a little bit, and he starts to not look like a walker anymore. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough to where walkers come, and then the walkers eat them. It was a little bit of freaking out. He was like, and then the walkers are like, oh, hey, I know that smells weird, but you know what? That's not one of us. That's a fresh human right there. I'm gonna eat that. Cut to this episode. Nick is upped on adrenaline. He is barely covered in the blood. Like, he just went, and that's all he did. He runs up to them. He is talking to them. Troy is as well. They're both there. They're both talking to the walkers. Walkers walk right past them. If you want proof that the walkers in this show are not nearly as deadly as the walkers in The Walking Dead, this episode. I mean, there's already been a lot of proof. As many times as somebody has been grabbed in this show by a walker, and they've not died, and they've not been bitten, as many times as a walker has pinned them down and is trying to bite them, and people have not died, or they've been grabbed from behind, and the walker goes to bite their neck, and they just kind of shove them off. You go to The Walking Dead. Go to The Walking Dead for a second. Those walkers are deadly. Obviously not as much anymore because they've had years of practice and training in how to fight them off. They've also probably been working on their muscle building, which means they're strong enough to push them off. These people are hardly into the apocalypse. It's still just a few months in. And none of these walkers can kill any of these people. You get a couple. Unfortunately, Ophelia just happened to be one of the unlucky ones. But seriously, two guys go running into a pack of walkers with hardly any cover. They're talking, they're running, they're not acting like walkers at all. And this group of walkers is just like, they're main characters. They're not tasty. The only tasty ones are the extras. But these guys, they're not going to be tasty. Hello. I don't get it. I don't get why this show has such a love of putting our characters in dangerous situations and just having them get out of it with no good explanation. They either have to come up with some BS, like lightning striking a walker, or they just have the walkers not be deadly. And I tell you what, it really lowers the stakes. And that's the problem. Yeah, they killed off Ophelia with a bite there. Yeah, all those people in the compound died. But here's the problem. That is immediately followed in the next episode by Nick and Troy surrounded by walkers, not doing anything to blend in, and the walkers just walk right past them. Any of the tension... Ugh, of course something's tickling my throat right now. Hang on. But any of the attention, any of the emotion that was built up last episode, and honestly, even then, I'm still pissed at how they handled it, but I was still kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe that means more, maybe they're going to be a bit more ruthless with how they kill people, because this seemed like a situation where a lot of people were going to make it out okay, and then they didn't. I was like, oh, okay, well, I hate it. I hate what they did. I hate how they undercut the story and the moral in that episode, but maybe this is going to be a sign of change. Maybe this is going to be a sign that, oh, well, we're more likely to kill people now. But then you do that. And again, all of the tension in any of these scenes is gone. I don't feel like anybody's going to die. And of course I know, like I said, I've seen the artwork. I know that a lot of these characters do make it until the present day. At least I'm pretty sure. But still, with The Walking Dead, like, it seemed like anybody could die, and hardly ever were they caught in a situation where it seemed hopeless and then they made it out. Couple times, yeah. There were a couple times where it's like, man, I don't see a way out, and then they did find a way out, but it was through ingenuity. It was through somebody shows up to help them. It was through something that made sense, that made realistic sense. Oh, well, these people showed up and they helped us, or so-and-so was following us and they happened upon us and they helped us. Or ingenuity, like I said, they saw something and they used that something to help get them out of that situation. As much as I hated the Glenn dumpster scene, at least it was a little bit of ingenuity. Still unrealistic, but you know what? He saw his opportunity, he crawled up under the dumpster, and it's not entirely realistic, but it makes more sense than the walkers just walk past them. Like, I felt no tension in that scene, and I should have. It should have been like, what the hell? Why are they walking into that group of walkers? They could die, but I didn't feel that at all. Because honestly, they didn't even shoot it like they could possibly die. It was shot like, okay, why are they doing this? Are they seriously going to get through this without dying? They did. Oh my god, this show's stupid. So anyways, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. It really is. And it's more frustrating because of last episode, because of how good some elements of that were, because of how good some of the build-up was. They undercut so much of it in just one episode. Honestly, they undercut some of it last episode too, but you come to this one, it's just like more undercutting, more just whoosh, emotion gone, tension gone. We're back to most of this season, which I've hated. Not to mention you've killed off some of the only likable people on the show. Like, I honestly, because Ophelia was up there. Even though she did kind of turn a little bit, she was still up there as far as likable people. And now you've killed her off. So, you're running out of likable people on this show. What are you going to do now? Anyways, I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else for this episode. There's just... Oh my god. Anyways, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think of these two episodes. Let me know down below. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future... I did this too early. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fear the Walking Dead. I'll see you guys in the next one. Last video of this season, thank God. Peace out.